This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
We are professional cartoonists, and we are Legion of Superheroes experts.
This is Super Talk. You know, you ever heard of Julia Lacumint? Colorist.
No.
She's really good.
What did she do?
Well, she did worked with Mike Grell a lot. She did Longbow Hunters. I was like flipping through that earlier tonight, and I think it's like the best I've ever seen his work. Like, it's really strong in there, but I think a lot of it is her colors, because it looks kind of like Lynn Varley did with Dark Knight, or so. It looks like it's painted or maybe colored pencils. Just adds a lot to his work.
I don't think I ever read it. I remember the covers a little bit. Does it look the same as the covers?
Pretty much.
Maybe I should look at it sometime. That's probably the first Grail I ever saw, but my brother got it, so I just kind of looked at it. And it was back in the days when I was like 8 or 9, and it said mature readers on the cover, so I never read it.
What?
It was like rated XXX.
They put that on there to entice you to read it.
Well, it didn't work.
What?
I believed it. I believed it wasn't for me.
Don't look at those Playboys. Those aren't for us. Such a good kid.
Yeah, I don't know about Playboys. I think maybe I thought that it was just going to be too heavy and too serious for me.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Maybe it is.
It probably still is. Mike Grell comic.
Well, I know he stops using the trick arrows and he starts killing people with real arrows in the comic, so maybe it is kind of intense.
I mean, the trick arrows were always kind of dorky, like a boxing glove arrow, but I guess it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I like it. See, that's how I would try to make the Punisher less lame. Like, his guns would have like trick bullets.
Uh-huh.
Instead of like putting people full of holes, they'd inflate into boxing gloves and slippery spray. I don't know.
oh, like oil slick?
Right, right. Bouncing balls.
I was just reading the second story in Superboy 235.
Superboy 235.
That's what they're talking about in this letters page from 240.
I didn't read the stories it's referring to, I guess. But they're all the fucking same.
I went back and read the stories today.
Is this the one? Is it referring to that lame ass story where you try to explain why they don't get old, or why they're still calling themselves boy and girl?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's just like they just forgot it ever happened because it was such a dumb idea.
Well, they say in this letters page of Superboy 240, talking about Superboy 235 from 6 months ago. I guess right off the bat, before we get into it, the editor is now Al Milgram, and he says that now they're going to have a regular creative team: Paul Levitz, Joe Staton, and Jack Abel from now on. But I don't think they last. I don't think Levitz for sure doesn't stay on the title for too much longer after this.
I don't have that Legion Outpost extra.
I didn't give it to you.
Okay, it's just like a glossary or something.
Yeah, it just says who's who. It starts with the Wanderers, and then the Heroes of Lalor, Dev-Em, and then some other like heroes that are like White Witch, Shadow Kid, Questar, and Reflecto.
I don't need no glossary. I'm a Legion of Superheroes expert.
Right, we're experts. We don't need this.
We're the guys that come to write that shit. You ever see a documentary that they have some guy, they'll show his name, and underneath it'll say like professional fan.
No. What the fuck? How do you become a professional fan?
I think with some stuff, and maybe this is lessened with the internet, but sometimes they'll have the resident nerd on tap that will be able to cite continuity problems.
And he gets paid for that?
I don't know about that. Maybe,
I mean, to me, that's what professional means, but does it mean something else on this when you're just a
I
fan?
suppose if it's like a movie or something, they're probably throwing him something. But
yeah, but then he would have a title. He could be a consultant of some kind. He wouldn't have to have the stupid title of professional fan. Like, you sound like a total nerd, like bigger nerd than usual.
Right.
Professional fan.
I get paid to live in my mom's basement.
It's because he's stealing his mother's Social Security checks.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have an example of where you've seen a professional fan on a documentary?
The one that comes right to mind is Doctor Who. There are a few guys who, I guess maybe they're independently wealthy, who just spent their whole lives chronicling the minutiae of just all the little details of Doctor Who all through the 60s and 70s.
Weird.
But that's not the only place. Because I'm watching all kinds of stupid documentaries on obscure shit like ventriloquism and stuff. I'm always seeing people like that.
Ventriloquism, like Charlie McCarthy and shit like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that shit. I've got ventriloquist dolls in this house.
Sick.
Yep.
And not like cool sick. I mean gross, unhealthy
They talk
sick.
at night.
Yeah, somebody was telling me, I've never seen it. There's a movie called The Doll or the Ventriloquist or something. It's got...
Is that the one with Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be real scary.
Yeah. It's kind of played out, the evil dummy thing. My son's really into evil dummies because of those Goosebumps books.
I thought you were going to say because of his father.
Because of his father, yeah. That's for sure. And both of those things. We were reading a Silver Age Batman today, and he had to call upon like the 7 greatest detectives, and he was one of them, of course. But they were all guys you'd never heard of. It wasn't like Sherlock Holmes or The Question or anything. They're all made up guys for that issue. And one was a detective with a ventriloquist dummy.
Wow, that sounds good. That's funny.
Yeah, I like that. It's like wow, because everyone just goes for the evil dummy now. It's good to see something different.
A benevolent dummy.
yeah. I think the they didn't put much attention on him in the story, but I'd like to think like the human guy is like the Watson. He's the dummy, the idiot, and and yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yep, that's funny. That's so weird. Why would they? I wonder what made them go in that direction. There's like such a novelty of a detective.
Well, like one is a magician, and one is like a circus strongman.
Wait, these are the 10 best detectives?
I think it's 7, but yes.
Are they from throughout history, or they're all in whatever 1962?
They're from 1962.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all like kind of novelty detectives you've never heard of.
That's a lot of work for whoever, like Bill Finger or whoever wrote that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like the artist just drew the first 7 things he could think of.
That's funny.
We should bring him back.
I know it. I'm surprised Grant Morrison didn't bring those guys back.
Yeah, it's in that Silver Age omnibus with all the Sheldon Moldoff Batman stuff. I really love that stuff.
The letters in this issue are talking about Superboy 235.
Mm-hmm.
This thing has 2 stories in it. You want me to tell you what the stories are?
Double feature. Tell me all of
It's
that.
a giant. I think it's a giant. Extra pages. Giant.
2 stories.
The first story is this thing where it starts out where the Legionnaires are sort of conspiring between each other, and they've got Superboy hooked up to a machine, and they're telling Superboy this is a just some health exam, but what they're actually doing is erasing his memory. And they've been doing this for every time he visits the future. They tell him it's a health exam and they erase his memory.
I thought they said like Saturn Girl did that shit.
No, I don't know. I'm remembering Saturn Girl like doing actually in 235 they say that Superboy self erases his memory when it gets back to the 20th century. But then I also recall something where Saturn Girl planted a post-hypnotic suggestion to make him forget everything from the future when he's not in the future.
I'm surprised his memory can even be erased.
Yeah.
Forever they depict every aspect, every iota of him being completely indestructible. To the point like Time Trapper can't even de-age him into a kid. Like, he's immune to everything. So you would think, like, you can't erase his memories. They're indestructible.
They address that in 235. They say Brainiac 5 is like, with every passing year, it gets more difficult to erase his memories. So I guess implying that as he grows from Superboy to Superman, you're not going to be able to do this shit to him anymore. And right. Superboy's starting to get wise. But then the memory erasure gets interrupted. They have to go on an adventure. And the whole time Superboy's like, what if they are whispering to each other? And I can hear him telling this guy not to leak any information to me. They have to go to this place called the Life Institute and stop some Sclarian raiders. Eventually, it's revealed that the Life Institute, well, this is what they tell Superboy, is the Life Institute we're trying to keep this secret from you. The Life Institute is trying to prolong human life with a serum.
I don't think I would set foot in a place named the Life Institute.
It sounds like a religious
Like
cult
a cult
thing.
thing, yeah.
And it's on its own island out in the ocean someplace.
Oh, even better, even better.
Yeah. They tell Superboy that that's what they're trying to erase from his memory. And Superboy's like, okay, that's cool. I realize you're trying to do the right thing and you don't want me to take this secret back to the past or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes away. And then Brainiac 5 is talking to this guy from the Life Institute. And they're like, the real secret isn't that we're trying to prolong life, is that we're actually trying to eliminate death and create immortality. That's what we're doing at the Life Institute. They want to keep that information from Superboy because it would be so tempting to anyone to take that secret back and keep their best friend, their dog, their parents alive forever.
Right.
And they don't want Superboy to have that.
They're not going to have that temptation in the future.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of weird and dumb. But there's also the problematic aspect of them always having erased Superboy's memory, either every visit or once a year or something like that. Just constantly erasing his memory.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they all take a serum to keep themselves young and live longer. So that's the first story.
Right. This is a young Paul Levitt's trying to be clever and justify why the characters are kids for years and years and years. But it seems like he comes to regret that pretty quick because he's the guy who's like, let's have these guys settle down and get married, and he starts them acting more like older people. So I think he even personally ignores this story.
I think so too. I mean, it could be that they start their families when they're 60 or some shit like that, and we just don't realize just how long everything's taking in the future. I don't know.
Like, are you saying like these characters are in their 50s?
Yeah. By the time we get to the David time, 1980s, Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl, maybe they're 65 or something, and they're just now having their kids, and they look youthful like they're 30. Could be. That's an idea.
But I guess they don't act that much like teenagers, but they act like idiots. You'd think they'd be a lot wiser.
The serum must make them remain kind of stupid.
I do sometimes wonder if like wisdom has more to do with your like frailty than anything else.
I think it has to do with how many past lives you've led.
Oh, it could be. But if your body's letting you get away with, like, say, getting wasted every night, you're not going to have the wisdom not to get wasted every night. But when your body starts giving you hangovers, you get wise and stop drinking every night.
Well, but if it's not a problem, is it wisdom that tells you to stop? Like when it becomes a problem, yeah, you would be wise to quit doing things that are bad for you. But when they're actually not bad for you, you wouldn't stop because it's fine. And you don't need wisdom to tell you that if something isn't harming you, you can do it.
Well, maybe that's not really wisdom, but I think what people say is wisdom is this. Like their physical limitations make them more reserved or make smarter decisions because they can't get away with dumb decisions anymore.
Oh, all right.
That's my theory.
Could be. I've never made a dumb decision, so.
Other than.
What?
Nothing.
Excuse me? And then the second story in issue 235 is there's this politician who hates the Legionnaires. He thinks that they're responsible for his son's death because his son got some kind of disease where it was called synapse syndrome, where all the electrical impulses in his body were going to shut down and not work unless the father goes to another planet, Titan, I think, kills a monster, and in the monster's death throes creates a radiation that he can collect and take it back and cure his son with. But when he gets to Titan, the Legionnaires are already there. They're going to collect that death radiation to restore Wildfire, who I guess died in the last issue. And so he takes him to trial for killing his son. Brainiac 5 and Wildfire are gone. They're missing. They go through this bizarre trial in the future where they're in like a fucking truth tube that forces them to tell the truth on the stand. The truth as they see it as an individual, not the actual objective truth.
Right.
And at the end, Brainiac 5 shows up with Wildfire and says, well, I tried to tell this guy, but he wouldn't listen. I cured Wildfire first. Wildfire held onto the energy from the monster, and then Wildfire right now in the courtroom because the father brought the dead body of his son to court, and he's in a coffin in courtroom. Wildfire shoots the son.
He had him in his briefcase?
Yeah, pretty much. Wildfire blasts the dead body of the son, and he recovers. And then the Legion is like, shame on you for not listening to us. And they're all condescending, kind of.
Yeah. Did Tuska do any like storyboard stuff or animation? Some of this reminds me a lot of like that Toth Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah, he has kind of a Tothy look.
This guy looks right out of like a episode of Super Friends.
Oh, yeah. Even the robot guys, the bailiffs, I guess. I like Tuska. This is Tuska inked by Coletta. In those early Legion comics in Superboy, those are solo Tuska. Much better looking artwork. Tuska's a good artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the two stories. The evidently the fan reaction was divided.
Oh.
The first letter is from Ed Via, repeat letter writer. I think he's been critical of Jerry Conway in the past. I think Jerry Conway wrote the George Tuska the trial thing, and then Levitz. The first story is Levitz and drawing a blank already. Levitz, Grell, Coletta.
Coletta did both of them?
Yeah. But I think Ed Via, he likes the two stories in Superboy 235. The Legion's Super Secret, that's the first story, but the youth serum, did something that few comics stories have ever done, something a mere handful of them could do. It took the subject of characters aging about a year or so for every 5 or 6 of the books and made something sensible out of it. So he appreciates Paul's idea that this is the reason they're so young, is because they're taking a truth serum.
A youth serum, not a truth serum.
Oh, did I say truth serum?
You did.
Oh, youth serum.
They're not using truth serum. They're lying. They're liars.
Yeah, they're really pulling one over on Superboy.
This is really fucked up because we don't know how long they've been doing this, right? Like, Superboy is making out with one of the triplicate girls. She's like 70 years old.
Yep.
Messing around with a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, we have no idea. They imply that it's been happening the whole time they've been interacting with Superboy.
I kind of like the exact reverse of this story. I like the idea that because he keeps time traveling, but coming further and further along in their history, he stays a kid, but they grow into their mid-20s. So by the time he dies, I think he's still like 16, 17, and they're like 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of a good idea, or an interesting idea. Like, it's not a one-to-one thing where, like, if he stays in Smallville for a month before he sees the Legionnaires next, he knows to go 1 month later than he was last there. Instead, he just goes kind of willy-nilly, and so they can get older, and he is always a little younger. Or
I think there must be some unspoken, like he cannot show up at an earlier period than he's already been. Like he can only move forward.
Right.
And then it kind of causes him to reverse age out of the Legion in a way, like because they're adults and this kid is still wanting to hang out with them.
Yeah, but what they actually do is say that he becomes Superman and stops wanting to hang out with them, right?
Or he just dies before.
Well, yeah.
It comes up. But I wonder if kind of like his being less and less involved is they're getting older. He's still in high school, so he still likes him and wants to hang out with him occasionally, but they don't have the same camaraderie anymore because it's not a peer relationship anymore, peer to peer.
Right.
Like they're all talking about getting married and
mowing the lawn.
Right. Financial stuff, mortgages.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, "Look, I wanted to get in Lana Lang's panties. How do I do it, Ultra Boy?" Right. And he's like, "Oh, listen, dude. I've had the same girlfriend for 50 years.
Right.
And she doesn't own panties.
Transparent. Translucent panties.
Their panties they're half in the big Zittle zone and half on Earth.
They have a big P on them, but it's not for Phantom. Yeah,
I like that idea. I like that. That's a good idea. And you could even, I think it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. I think your idea that they're getting older and Superboy isn't can also still kind of work with this dorky idea of Paul Levitz's, where they're getting older, but they're remaining, or they're like visually or physically younger, even though they're older, but like they're aging at a slower pace, but still aging. Like maybe Superboy goes once a year instead of once a month to meet him, and they're not a year older, but they're 5 months older. It could work. It could still work and be weird.
You could have had a good story where he goes too far, and he's like 20 years ahead, and they're still kids. So then he realizes what they've been pulling on him all this time.
Yeah, you would think he would have done that sometime, right?
Maybe once or twice he figured something out, and he's like, "This is fucked up. What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Stop him!
Erase his brain. Erase him."
Right.
I mean, that's why they do it. Every time they see him, they're like, "Hey, Superboy, mandatory physical."
There had to have been some occasions where they had to get Mon-El and Ultra Boy to force him into that chair, and
right.
Yeah.
Or they put like kryptonite in the air ducts, and they're like, "What, you feel sick? Why don't you sit down for a sec?"
Not very heroic.
No, this is another instance of the Legion being pretty messed up, and it's Brainiac 5's idea, I think, all the way through.
World's dumbest genius.
But Brainiac, he saves the day kind of in the second story with the wildfire thing. He saves 2 lives instead of just one, like this antagonist character thinks they're going to do. But yeah, then the whole time he's erasing people's memories. I guess for some reason at this point in history, Paul Levitz decided that he wanted to address this. No other comic ever addressed this. And in the second letter from Eva Chardbian, she does not like either of the 2 stories in 235. Ed Via likes them both. She says, the Legion's super secret was a thoroughly useless tale satisfying only to the moronic fan who would object to Charlie Brown's never-ending adolescence. And I'm kind of with her. I think maybe you're probably with her.
I am too.
And nobody ever, I mean, on the creative end of these comic books, nobody was ever like, oh, Superman. I guess they kind of did it with Superman, where they just did it to Superboy, kind of. They moved him 20 years in the future or something, but they never were like, he's older now. Instead of happening in the 30s, Smallville happened in the 50s. But Superman is perpetually going to be 30 years old or whatever they say.
Well, all of the characters are they're not really moving through time.
Yeah, except the Legionnaires. And Paul Levitz wanted to explain that. First of all, he wanted to explain that they're not like all the other characters who are not moving through time. The Legionnaires are getting older, but they're just not getting that much older.
To me, it always felt like this. He's trying to save the branding somehow. Like he's trying to save the names.
Oh, just so we can keep calling him Cosmic Boy, and that's
right.
Yeah, I guess. Do you think this is like all driven by like trademark crapola? Like the legal department is like, hey, we've been reading these Legion comics. These guys are getting kind of old. Do something about it to make sure that we can still have a Karate Kid movie instead of a Karate King movie.
I mean, I don't know if it was that. I don't know how seriously they were taking that stuff back then. I think you can give them names like Lightning Man and stuff, but it doesn't sound as good as Lightning Lad. So he's trying to figure out a way. How could he could just be Lightning Lad forever?
Yeah, that's probably it. But he wants to have it both ways, or somebody does. People making these Legion comics, like he's still teasing the adult Legion shit.
Otherwise, he would just do what every other comic does and say everything that's happened in the 20 years before, it's just been a couple of years.
Yeah.
So he's trying to move it forward without having to make them adults somehow or change their names.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, he wants them to be adults, but also be kids. He just wants to have his cake and eat it too. Actually, I think it was kind of funny. Still talking about the first, the Legion Super Secret.
Mm-hmm.
The second letter, the Eva Chardbian letter, she almost, like, without even knowing it, like, addresses the point of view of Ed Via in his letter, talking about what a moron you would have to be to like this comic.
Right. Yeah, this is a very Crossfire-esque letter column. Two sides.
Yeah.
2 letters, 2 sides.
I think she kind of takes shot at the trial of the Legion 5 story, where Via, he likes the the depiction of the overambitious politician who hates the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
He says Councilman Chang, who's the antagonist character, represents a type of politician that's all too typical in this or any other age, a mean, petty, vengeful sort of person who, once crossed, will never stop looking for ways to get even. He thinks that rings true and is good. Or a good character. And then Eva Chardbian, she says that story disappointed her because she'd assumed that Jerry Conway knew how to write comic books.
See, she loses me here. Because she's trying to say, like, not all politicians are evil. Come on.
She says, it's a stereotype characterization, and would like to see just for once, like to see a normal politician who's not out for blood to further his ambitions.
Normal, eh?
That is a normal politician. I agree. I think the character in the comic he's not normal because he's not conniving and scheming enough to be like a regular politician.
Right.
He's like, I hate these guys and I want to take them down.
Mm-hmm. Is this being televised? Are people watching it? Is he just demagoguing to get people's vote? He might not end up even doing anything about it. Certain politicians rant about things they have absolutely no interest in. They will not deal with when they get into office, but they know it gets people riled up and listening to them.
Well, I think it's some of both. In this story,
there's a lot of that now. There's almost more of that than the normal politician.
There's what we see on TV, and there's like a handful of goofball politicians, and then there are just the ones who are the sturdy bureaucrat type of people.
Right, sure.
But in this comic, it begins outside the courthouse, and there's like a TV announcer who's doing some play-by-play, and like the Legionnaires are being led into the courtroom, and there's a riot erupting outside because it's emboldened the people who they've hated the Legion of Superheroes all this time, and they're starting to riot. It kind of rings true at the beginning.
It seems like there could be a better story in this.
It only hints at these anti-Legion people coming out of the woodwork when 5 of them are on trial. But the politician guy, I think, legitimately wants some Legionnaires to go to jail for murder because they refused to, from his point of view, refused to help cure his son. Instead, they had their own agenda, and they were going to let this guy die. They were going to save a Legionnaire instead of a civilian. And so he's gonna prosecute them for that. But also, I think he is an ambitious politician, and his base is these assholes outside the courtroom who are throwing tomatoes at the Legion of Superheroes.
What office did he hold?
He's a councilman.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's like a planetary council. I don't think he's like the Metropolis City Councilman. I think he is on some Earth council.
I'm trying to remember. The Legion has had to deal with a couple of dick presidents, haven't they? They're not all like Colossal Boy's mom.
Oh yeah. I remember just 2 weeks ago we were reading the one where they go to save the president, but Grimbor. It's actually in 240. Grimbor kidnaps the president, but also the president's an asshole.
The real president.
Yeah, the real president. The Grimbor replaces him with a robot that explodes, I think. But the real president is a piece of shit.
Who was the president after Colossal Boy's mom's?
His mom's
mom.
Were you code shifting just then?
Code shifting. Are you code shifting? It's code switching.
Oh.
Is it like an Indian guy or something?
Mojai Desai. He was the president during the Magic Wars time period, like the Baxter series, I think. I don't know when the election happened, or the election. It's not an election; it's an assignment when a person becomes the president in Paul Levitz's Legion of Superheroes universe.
Was the Wandering Earth War corrupt? Maybe.
Could be.
We're gonna have to cover that soon because I don't remember it.
Well, we did one issue of it. I don't think it's too spectacular. Earth War.
Oh.
Anyway, Eva Chardbian, she throws out some real zingers, saying that she thought Jerry Conway knew how to write a comic book. She says, Milgram, your first issue as editor, on a scale of 1 to 10, you get a 2. She says, I've read dull Legion stories, and I have read downright bad Legion stories. Happily, for the purpose of my letter, Superboy 235 represented both examples.
Happily.
Both stories were dull, and both stories were downright bad. Art wasn't much either. She doesn't like the Grell Coletta artwork. I didn't really like it either. It looked okay.
Well, yeah, I liked it. I think I liked some of it. Superboy looks a little wonky. I like the chicken gold.
Oh yeah, the Sclarian Raiders.
She was smoking.
In one of these, they give Saturn Girl like red hair. She's in the magenta swimsuit costume with red hair. Mm-hmm. It's a good look on her. Mm-hmm. I think that's in the Tuska. Yeah, it's when she's on the stand in the truth tube.
Probably gets a little too close to Jean Grey, though, since she's the telepath.
Yeah, kind of same powers, huh? Eva Chardbian raises the idea that these stories, or whether or not these stories really needed to be told, or the first one anyway, the youth serum thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess we agree that we didn't need this comic. Mm-hmm. I just wonder what kind of purpose it actually serves, like in the ongoing thing. Just none, right? Like if we accept that this is part of the continuum, part of the canon of these superhero comic books, is this good for anything? Did they need to tell this comic? Could he have done something else with those 20 pages or whatever?
Well, it makes for a good cover, and I think like a lot of the Silver Age comics are sort of like they come up with a captivating cover and work backwards. And I don't know that they happened to do that this time, but it seems like you could have come up with a more compelling story to justify the exciting cover of the Legionnaires strapping Superboy down and forcing him.
It does give you this idea that Superboy's going to he's going to have to fight to get away from them.
Right.
Or there's going to be a real mystery to solve. And really the whole story is him kind of being confused.
Right. I hate to do this, Superboy, but you know too much. It was a good cover.
It's a good element. Like the weird chair thing on the cover is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I even think the Life Institute is sort of an interesting idea. Mm-hmm. That they've got this whole big place that it's probably privately funded by R.J. Brand or something, and they're trying to have immortality. Also, the Sclarian Raiders aspect, that's sort of an ongoing thing that Paul Levitz was doing with these.
Is that like Kano?
That's right, yeah. It's the people.
Doesn't Kano have kind of yellowish skin?
Well, is she blue or yellow? You might be right. Maybe she's yellow.
She's more yellow.
But anyway, yeah, like the Raiders, they've narrowly escaped from the Legion in their past encounters. And this one, the Legionnaires catch one of them, I think, for a second, and she tries to implore them to let her go because she's trying to get some technology for her planet that's going to improve the lives of the people on Sclaria that the United Planets is keeping from them. And one of those things, kind of unbeknownst to this raider, is the youth serum. So they want to keep that youth serum away, but for a good reason, because according to them, it's good that not every planet has the youth serum to keep everyone alive a long time. And Cosmic Boy even chimes in and says, my planet, when it first became a member of the United Planets, it went from pre-atomic civilization to having spaceships to fly around the galaxy. We just weren't ready to live extra long lives or have other types of technology. That's their justification.
Kind of sounds like Africa's not ready for this vaccine.
Right. And here's old Uncle Tom Rock Crin is like, no, it's true. People on my planet, we're so backwards. But now I'm in a club of really fancy rich people, so I can say whatever I want.
I mean, if they're saying they don't have the wisdom, what better way to attain the wisdom than to live longer?
Yeah. I mean, the truth. I keep saying truth. The youth serum was just one type of technology that the United Planets was keeping from Sclaria and evidently lots of other planets who aren't ready. I don't know who decides. Maybe this, like Councilman Chang from the next story, is part of the decision-making process. This guy who is kind of a hot-headed, kind of doesn't listen, kind of an asshole piece of shit.
Well, it really would be, it translates well as a, what do you call it, a metaphor, an allegory for real society too, because your first world, quote unquote, countries, people live 30, 40 years longer than people in the poorer countries. Mm-hmm. There might not be a direct eternal life serum, but our standard of living and our access to food and medicines have dramatically extended our lives.
Except the United States, where we don't have access to medicine.
And we have the guns to sort of negate whatever gains we make.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
I looked up the Life Institute. It is a real thing. I don't know that I even need to tell you what it's about, but there's biblical worldviews involved, and it seems to be mostly about abortion.
Oh, like the Pro-Life Institute.
Pro-life.
Yeah, weird. I was reading about, I saw a tweet yesterday, I think, maybe it was today, from that super collector guy, Aaron Myers, is that his name? On Twitter, online. Social media
the ROM guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was talking about how, he's a big sci-fi reader, and he was like,
$2 pickup.
Yeah. He was like, when I was a kid, I read all the Heinlein novels, and he kind of started out as sort of a socialist writer. And then as time went on, he got real conservative, I guess. And he was pointing out other sci-fi novelists who were kind of in the same boat. And
did he name Bradbury? Someone tried to tell me that happened to Bradbury. I don't want to believe it.
I think Bradbury did get that way, but only because of just dementia, and he was 100 years old or something.
Oh.
But I don't remember who they were talking about. But in one of these authors, he pulled up the name of John Birch Society and said this author kind of held those kind of views. And I'm like, I don't know what they are. I started reading about John Birch Society.
Well, they're not good.
They're not good. But they are big into pro-life and American exceptionalism type of shit, and anti-globalization, because it's going to destroy the American way of life, which is this, that, and the other thing, I guess. Kind of a lot.
I think they have a powerful sway over our conservative politicians.
Yeah, this is what Wikipedia told me, is in the 60s and 70s that it was at its peak, but today the conservative movement or the Republican movement is much more mirroring of what you think of as their beliefs.
Okay.
But it was talking about globalization. And then it got me thinking about this, how in the Legion comics, they have a one world government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mainly just so they can say that we have a United Planets, and, they can kind of reduce it to the Earth is a state, or is a country among a bunch of other countries.
Among other planets, yeah.
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 But a John Birch Society person would not appreciate that. They wouldn't want a one world, a president of Earth, all that stuff.
Right. And that's addressed a little bit in the history of Legion. You have isolationists who don't want to have anything to do with the Federation. Is it Federation or United Planets? I get those two.
United Planets, yeah. Federation of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like the Daxamites, right? Yeah, somebody chewed us out on YouTube for saying the Daxamites were racists.
They're totally racist.
This person was like, just because they're isolationists does not mean they're racist. And he said, you guys are racist and have been David and Dan are racist and have been brainwashed by the media. That's what this YouTube commenter said.
Well, Andromeda, at least post Zero Hour, was definitely racist.
Explicitly a racist. That's true.
Right.
Anyway, that's kind of a tangent about the politics of Legion superheroes. Maybe another.
We're making lots of friends. Man, that's so funny. Probably anybody listening to this is diametrically opposite to us. Any of our views.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I know a couple of people who watch these, and I think they're normal.
Yeah. But if they know you, they might be watching it because they know you.
Well, I don't know anybody that good.
Right.
Let's finish.
Are we done with this?
We're
done with this one?
We're not done yet.
Shit. I felt like we were finished. We covered both the letters, though.
Yeah, there's Eva Chardbian. She complains about Mike Grell looking like he only spent half a minute on each page. And then the editor, I don't know if it's signed Al and Paul. I don't know if Paul Levitz is writing the letters page responses or if it's Al Milgram. Whoever it is says, many fans applauded the return of Mike Grell and only wanted to know why he couldn't stay with it permanently. But they say he's already doing Green Lantern, Green Arrow, which is one comic book, and Warlord. So he's only human, can't do a third comic book in every month.
Right.
So I guess that's all I wanted to point out is that there are fans who still want Mike Grell back, probably even in his weakened condition with Vinnie Coletta inks. I think Grell inked a lot of his own work in the early Legion books.
See, I think Vinnie Coletta's inking style would probably complement a guy like Grell because he has a lot of thin lines, a lot of hatchy stuff in his work. He didn't do Jack Kirby any favors because all his figures are really bold, and he'd be using thin ass lines.
I'm with you there, to a degree. I think that Coletta leaves out a lot. Like he's famous for erasing the backgrounds in Kirby comics. And
Right.
And I think he's just kind of lazy in a way, or he's maybe not lazy, maybe just like he's doing a lot of pages in a month if he can. He gets as much work as he can and does all of it, or gets his kid to do some of it, or gets his wife to do some of it, or something like that. I think is how I've always understood the Coletta, what a studio of inking, is that you may or may not be getting the man himself, the great man himself, inking it.
Right.
And it's kind of slipshod sometimes. Like when he's firing on all cylinders, like, yeah, I think Coletta was a good artist. Like he did some good like romance comics of just like, it's like regular people in regular clothes doing stuff that look good. But yeah, the Kirby stuff, it doesn't look as good as the Mike Royer Kirby stuff or the Joe Sinnott Kirby stuff.
I will say, and I think I've said it before, like if you see the original artwork, the black and white artwork, sometimes it looks really good, like him inking Kirby Thor, for example. But all the like fine lines he adds are lost with the color, so it's a wasted effort. It doesn't suit color comics really.
Yeah, you're right. He does do a lot of fine line stuff. It's kind of like I don't know, it's like a different kind of like magazine illustrator kind of style or something.
Right.
Yeah. But I think he was also kind of busting out the work as much as possible.
Yeah.
Hacking out, I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to say he was hacking it out. I just said he was busting it out. Because I do that. It's like, how much of this can I get done today? And I just do it. I crank it out. I grind it out and get as much done as I possibly can because I want an extra day off this week, And it doesn't matter if it looks good. It only matters. All that matters is that a kid will accept that this is a finished drawing. That's what matters. And Coletta lives up to that ethos, philosophy.
I think it's good if you try to grind things out. Personally, I don't know that it worked well for him, but like someone like you or me, I think it's good that we try to grind shit out because we're probably perfectionists to begin with. So grinding out for us is probably just normal output. Like not letting yourself overthink things.
Yeah, perfectionist is not the right word for me. I think I'm lazy. I've gotten real lazy about this stuff.
I don't know, the way you talk about some of those comic projects you're working on, you sound like a perfectionist.
Oh, really? But for my day job, yeah, I want this stuff done. And like, I don't hack it out as bad as Coletta did, I don't think.
Right.
Like, I don't get the 8-year-old from next door to do it or anything like that.
You would ink Kirby much better.
I doubt it, but I appreciate the sentiment.
I think it would be interesting to see. There's a lot of guys who like grab his pencils from online and ink them.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. You just draw your cartoony style on top of it.
Maybe I will do that.
Give Thor like a silly face.
Oh, yeah. Crossed eyes. Totally.
Yeah.
You should do that too. Let's both do that. Let's take it. There's no Kirby Legion pages, are there? We should have a draw-off of who has pencils. I think there's Jimmy Jane's pencils of Legion pages out there.
I think there's some Mike Grell pages out there. There's the Starlin. Aren't there a few of those pages floating around? Not all of it, but
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we should do it. We should have a draw-off. Dan versus Dave.
Oh, shit.
Just like Just like the 90s MTV commercials, Dan or Dave.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
when it
Nike, I
reminded me
think
of
it
that.
was. Yeah.
Who's the better inker on Micrel, Dan or Dave?
He's still alive, right?
Mike Grell? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure he's still alive. I think he's old, but he's still around. He's
Yeah.
probably, I think he's full on turquoise guy in Arizona or something, you know?
Oh, okay.
You know those people? Those turquoise people?
Yeah.
They got the turquoise bolo and all the rings.
Go to Arizona. Yeah. You got lots of that Southwestern artwork.
Right.
In their houses.
But it's so nuts how people go crazy for turquoise.
It's the boomers. They love that shit.
Yes, and like they have a cowboy hat with like those round turquoise things that goes all the way around the brim or all the way. The hat band is all turquoise. It's insane.
Yeah. Never been a fan.
I like the color turquoise, but
yeah,
like the mineral turquoise. Yeah, I don't get it. Okay, that's the Legion Outpost of Legion 240. Good one. Good recap. I almost didn't want to talk about this, but I think we got a good conversation out of this.
Too bad almost none of it had to do with the letters column. It's too bad it's such a pain in the ass to edit the stuff down because I like the idea of like none of these actually being about, well, like we talk about the comic for the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes, and then it's just everything else in between.
Like you would want to leave all that in, like all the shit talking about plastic recycling and everything, right?
No, not every any of the racist shit or anything that could get us canceled would have to go probably, but
yeah. All right. Well, I'll see what I can do.
Probably make it much harder.
No, I mean, if I do it right, like the decision of what to leave in and out isn't too bad. It's just like the time it takes, I guess.
Right. It's like car talk, man. They do talk about cars. Some, but
yeah, all I listen to is the Puzzler.
I've been listening to old ones of that lately. Not super lately, but last month I was listening to a lot. I was getting kind of depressed or something. I needed the news, all the Gaza shit. I'm like, I need something more cheerful.
Uh-huh. And it was car talk, huh?
I don't know. I think listening to those guys laugh just puts me in a better mood.
Yeah. Is like every episode online somewhere?
Probably, but they're still like re-releasing them every week as a podcast, and they're on Spotify and everywhere else.
Oh, I didn't know that. I kind of figured it was just gone forever. Do they still air it on NPR? Surely not.
Well, like here, after they retired, they kept running it for a few years, even because they retired like a year or two before he died.
Yeah.
You know, but they just kept running it for a long ass time. But now they finally put some new programming on. But I'm sure there are places that still play it.
Crazy. I've been hearing that guy, the one still living, he's on like commercials for eBay Motors or something. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm sure it's a good gig, especially for a dude like that who's he's probably in retirement himself or whatever. He still has his shop or maybe, I don't know. Like he's still the boss of a car mechanic shop.
Right. I doubt he's doing very much there, but they had a cartoon. Did you ever see that?
No. I remember there's a sitcom based on them, but I don't remember the cartoon.
I don't remember the sitcom.
Oh, the sitcom had George Wendt on it.
Really?
Yeah, it must have been like a half season or something.
Was George Wendt playing some version of one of them?
Yeah. I can't remember who the other guy was, but like it wasn't Cliff. It should have been Cliff, but it wasn't. It was somebody else.
No, they had a cartoon, an animated cartoon on, they ran it on PBS.
They're the public media ecosystem, huh?
Like in the aughts.
Yeah. I think the sitcom must have been a little earlier than that. Like it was after Cheers, but I don't know when Cheers ended.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Cartoon. What did they fix cars in the cartoon?
Yeah, but
was it called Cartoon Talk?
No, but they were click and clack in it. I think they didn't use their real names.
What are their real names? I can't remember.
Isn't it like Tom and Ray? Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right. What's their last name? I don't even know.
Megzalato Zato something. Magliano, something like that.
Yeah. Huh. Tom Ray? Yeah, it's let's start with an M. Huh.
They used to.
Did you see the cartoon? Did you like it? Were you a fan?
It was okay. It was. You're getting kind of into red green territory, like that kind of comedy. Have you ever seen that guy? Like it's kind of funny to people your parents' age who read a lot, but it was all right. It was. I liked the style of the cartoon. It looked pretty hip, like it could have been on Nickelodeon or something.
Was it like flat, like Fairly Odd Parents or something?
Yeah, they weren't CGI. They weren't Pixar-y.
See you in a week.
Long live the Legion.
Adios.